Good morning. In the previous video, you studied that laboratory preparation of ammonia, that page number 164 and 165, and after that it is given page number 166, that laboratory method from metal nitride. This is removed from the syllabus. And after this, manufacture of ammonia, Haber's process we have to study. But before starting the Haber's process, just to go through the page number 169, it is given if the reaction is exothermic, it is favored by lowering of the temperature by the Lee-Chatier's principle. So what is the Lee-Chatier's principle? If you are familiar, then it will be easy for you. So that's why first we will study the Lee-Chatier's principle and then we will discuss about the Haber's process. So what is the Lee-Chatier's principle? It is given when a system in equilibrium, when a system in equilibrium is subjected to change in concentration, pressure or temperature. When a system in equilibrium is subjected to change in concentration, pressure or temperature, equilibrium shifts in that direction where there is no effect on the minimum effect of the changes made. When a system in equilibrium means it is for reversible reaction. When a system in equilibrium is subjected to change in concentration, pressure or temperature, equilibrium shifts in that direction where there is no effect or the minimum effect of the changes made. The meaning is that if any reaction that is in equilibrium and if you are going to change these conditions, concentration, pressure or temperature, so the equilibrium will shift in that direction where there is no effect, or if the effect is there, minimum effect should be there. So first of all, we will discuss about the effect of change of concentration. 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 So if we are going to change the concentration, then how the equilibrium will be affected. So just you see, this A and B combine to form C and D. So we write the equilibrium constant, that is K. It is the ratio of the molar concentration of the product to the molar concentration of the reactant. So this is the ratio. And just you see, this is the molar concentration, A and B and C. And molar concentration is in 1 liter, how many moles are there? So it is given equilibrium constant. As the name is given equilibrium constant, it should be constant. So suppose that if you increase A and B, then what about the value of K? The value of the K will decrease because this value you are increasing. So if you increase this value, the K will decrease. So how can you increase the value of K? How you can keep the value K constant? By B is increased. If we increase A or B concentration, then K decreases. K decreases. To keep K constant, we have to increase the concentration of C or D. It means increasing the value of C or D, equilibrium is shifted in a forward direction. That is, equilibrium is shifted in the forward direction. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion is that if you increase the A and B, K will decrease. To keep the K constant, you have to increase the C and D. It means equilibrium is shifted in forward direction. In the same way, if you increase C or D, so if you increase C or D, then the value of the K will increase. So how you can keep the K constant? You have to increase the value of A or B. It means equilibrium is shifted in backward direction. So very simple way you can take, when the concentration of reactant is increased, equilibrium is shifted in forward direction. When the concentration of product is increased, equilibrium is shifted in backward direction. So conclusion that is useful for you, that only we need. When concentration of reactant is increased, equilibrium is shifted in forward direction. That is, the concentration of product increases. In the same way, similarly, when concentration of product is increased, the equilibrium is shifted in backward. Direction. That is the concentration of reactant increases. So what is the conclusion here? If you increase the reactant, product will increase. If you increase the product concentration, reactant will increase. So what is your objective? If your objective is that to get the more amount of the product, then you have to take the more amount of the reactant. So in the coming that equations you will study, that we have to get the more amount of the product, so we will take the more amount of the reactant. So that much. Next one is effect of change of temperature. Second factor that we will discuss about the concentration already discussed, then temperature and then pressure. So next one is temperature. Effect of change of temperature means how the temperature will affect. So effect of change of temperature. So just to see this reaction, N2 combines with 3 molecules of hydrogen that will form ammonia, and this plus delta is there. It shows that reaction is exothermic. So this forward direction is exothermic. Any reaction, just to keep in your mind, any reaction in the forward direction, if it is exothermic, then reverse direction it will be endothermic. Endothermic. What do you mean by exothermic and endothermic? Exothermic means during the reaction heat is released. Endothermic, it means heat is absorbed. It means when you move forward direction, then heat is released. But when you move the backward direction, heat is absorbed. So regarding this one, when you increase the temperature, so equilibrium will shift in that direction, so it can absorb the heat. So where it can absorb the heat? Where the process is endothermic. It means for this reaction, if you increase the temperature, equilibrium will shift towards the backward direction, so it can absorb the heat. So if you want that more amount of ammonia, maximum rate of ammonia, then you have to decrease the temperature. What is the reason? If you increase, it is shifted backward direction. But you have to get the more amount of ammonia, so you will keep the low temperature. So I am going to write here. When temperature is increased, equilibrium is shifted. Equilibrium is shifted in the endothermic direction. Equilibrium is shifted in the endothermic direction. So it may absorb heat. So when you increase the temperature, equilibrium is shifted towards the endothermic direction. So regarding this one, if the temperature is increased, so equilibrium is shifted towards the backward direction. It means decomposition of ammonia is done. But if your objective is to get the maximum rate of ammonia, so for this reaction, low temperature is available. So for the above reaction, to get maximum yield of ammonia, low temperature is favorable. It means if you want to get the more amount of ammonia in this reaction, then you have to keep the temperature low. So by this way, you can get the maximum yield of ammonia. And suppose that if any chemical reaction is there, neither heat is absorbed nor heat is evolved. So in that case, effect of temperature will not be there. Next one is effect of change of pressure. So when the pressure is changed, then how the equilibrium is affected. So effect of change of pressure. So just to see effect of change of pressure, this N2 combined with hydrogen, this will form ammonia. Here nitrogen is 1 volume, hydrogen is 3 volume, and that one is 2 volume. By the Avogadro's law you studied that volumes contain 3 molecules and 2 volumes contain 2 molecules. So in the product, in the reactant side, you are getting total 4 molecules and here you are getting only 2 molecules. So you know, if you keep the gases in some container, then pressure is there. Suppose that if you keep some amount of gas in this container, pressure is there. Why the pressure is optional? Because of the striking of the gas molecules. These gas molecules will strike on the wall of the container, and because of that, pressure is optional. Suppose that if there are 2 containers, in one container that 2 molecules are there. Other container 4 molecules are there. So where the more pressure will be there? Where the more molecules are there, so this side the more pressure is there. So if you increase the pressure, where they will shift. Where the lesser volumes or lesser molecules are there, so you can absorb the excess pressure. So regarding this reaction, which pressure is favorable? For this reaction, high pressure is favorable. So I am going to write here what is the conclusion. When pressure is increased, equilibrium is shifted. Equilibrium is shifted towards lesser volume. Shifted towards lesser volumes. So it may absorb excess pressure. So for this reaction, which pressure is favorable to get the maximum heat of ammonia? So if you maintain the high pressure, that will shift the forward direction, you will get the maximum heat of ammonia. So for above reaction, to get maximum yield of ammonia, high pressure is favorable. Means if you want to get the more amount of ammonia, you have to maintain the high pressure. And suppose that on the reactant product side same number of molecules are there, so there will be no effect of the pressure. So now we can take what is our topic given in the syllabus, Haber's process. Very important that Haber's process. What is the purpose of the Haber's process? The purpose of the Haber's process is to manufacture ammonia. It means the industrial preparation of ammonia is done by the Haber's process. So what we have studied now, that Lee-Chatier's principle, we will apply in Haber's process. So let us see Haber's process. Haber's process. So in the Haber's process, this ammonia is manufactured. So if it is asked to you, what is the purpose of Haber's process? So the purpose of Haber's process is to manufacture ammonia. And which reactions are there? Just to see, N2 plus 3H2, this will form ammonia, and the heat is liberated 22,400 calories. In this reaction, iron is used as a catalyst. And molybdenum is used as a promoter. Then temperature we use that 450 to 500 degrees Celsius, and pressure we use 200 to 900. This is the reaction of the Haber's process to manufacture ammonia. Then just to see the diagram, this compression pump is there. Just to see, this pressure you are maintaining 200 to 900, and this much pressure only by the compression pump you can get. So this compression pump is there. In this compression pump, from the one side we add nitrogen gas. What is the source of the nitrogen gas? Nitrogen gas you are getting from the liquid air. Liquid air by the fractional distillation, and from this end you are adding hydrogen, and hydrogen gas you are getting from water gas. What is the water gas? CO plus H2. Then this is the compression pump. This is compression. You must have seen you are filling air into the tubes, and compression is there. So this from the compression pump, this nitrogen, hydrogen, they are coming in electrically heated catalyst chamber is there. This electrically heated catalyst chamber is there. Electrically heated catalyst chamber is there. This one is electrically heated catalyst chamber. Main reaction takes place here. Then when this ammonia is formed, this along with ammonia, some unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen also there. So they are coming through the cooling coil. In the cooling coil, this ammonia will condense, and nitrogen, hydrogen, they will not condense. So by this way, this ammonia will be separated. So this cooling coil is there. This one is cooling coil. What is the cooling coil? Inside the coil is there, and upper side cold chilled water supply is there. Then it is coming here. All of a sudden it is allowed to expand. So when it is allowed to expand, this ammonia is liquefied here, because ammonia can be liquefied easily. Its critical temperature is high, so that's why you are getting liquid ammonia. And here one more pump is there, that is called recirculating compression pump. This one is recirculating compression pump. This recirculating compression pump is there. So here unreacted nitrogen, hydrogen. Just to see the diagram. So all here you are getting the nitrogen, hydrogen. They are compressed here. They are coming in electrically heated metric chamber is there. Here the reaction takes place. Then ammonia is formed. When the ammonia is formed, since the 100% conversion is not there, if the 100% conversion is not there, then some unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen will be coming. There are two methods to separate unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen from ammonia, either by dissolving in water or by liquefaction method. Because ammonia is highly soluble and nitrogen and hydrogen they are insoluble. Or another way liquefaction, ammonia can be liquefied easily, but nitrogen cannot be liquefied easily. So any one method is applied, but here liquefaction method is applied. So here these compressed gases they are coming here, they are allowed to expand here. So ammonia is not the form of the liquid ammonia, and unreacted nitrogen they are coming here again in the compression pump, and then reaction takes place. So by this way you are getting liquid ammonia. What is your objective? So certain points we have to discuss. First of all, reactants. So what are the reactants? Reactants are nitrogen and hydrogen. What is the source of nitrogen? Nitrogen is obtained from liquid air. By the fractional distillation of the liquid air, you are getting nitrogen, and hydrogen is obtained from water gas. This one is called water gas, CO plus H2. So from this one you are taking the hydrogen. They should be free from the impurities. If the impurities are present, so that will deactivate the catalyst, poison the catalyst. What are the impurities? Impurities are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide and H2S. So these gases are present in the form of the impurities. If they present along with nitrogen hydrogen, they will poison the catalyst. So that's why nitrogen hydrogen which we are using, they should be free from the impurities. And as per the Lee-Chatter's principle in study, when the reactant concentration is increased, product concentration increases. And when the product is increased, reactant increases. So for this one, we use high concentration. We use high concentration of nitrogen and hydrogen so that we can get the maximum yield of ammonia. Now next one is temperature. As per the Lee-Chatter's principle, just to see, this forward reaction is exothermic. So in the Lee-Chatter's principle in study, when the temperature is increased, equilibrium is shifted towards endothermic direction. So this forward is exothermic, then reverse will be endothermic. So when you increase the temperature, equilibrium is shifted towards endothermic direction. But your objective is that to get the more ammonia, so you will keep the low temperature. So to get for this reaction, low temperature is favorable. For this reaction, low temperature is favorable. But the temperature is too low, then reactant molecules may not combine. So we keep optimum temperature. Optimum temperature. What is the optimum temperature? Optimum temperature we maintain 400 to 500 degrees Celsius. What do you mean by optimum temperature? The temperature at which you are getting the maximum yield of ammonia. The temperature at which you are getting the maximum yield of ammonia is called the optimum temperature. So for this reaction, we maintain 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. This is called optimum temperature, and at this temperature you will get the maximum yield of ammonia. If you are going to increase the temperature beyond this, then decomposition of ammonia will start. It means only at this range you will get the maximum yield of ammonia. Now next one is the pressure. Reactants we have seen, temperature we have seen. Now pressure. So just to see, here one volume, there three volume, and there two volume. So for this reaction, forward direction 2 volume, and this in the reactant side 4 volume. It means for this reaction high pressure is favorable. But if the pressure is very high, so production plant may not bear that much high pressure. So that's why we use optimum pressure. Optimum pressure. What is the optimum pressure? That 200 to 900 atm. And the optimum pressure means the pressure on which you will get the maximum yield of ammonia. If you are going to change from this pressure, then the yield of ammonia will be affected. So that's why we maintain optimum pressure 200 to 900. Next one is catalyst. What is the catalyst here? Catalyst you are using that iron is there, and promoter molybdenum. Catalyst you know that increases the rate of reaction, and promoter increases the efficiency of the catalyst. So I want to tell you, these catalyst and promoter, they are not the part of the reactants. They are not the part of the reaction. So they only accelerate the reaction. So the catalyst will not affect the percentage yield of ammonia. If you are supposed to get 100 liters of ammonia, you will get 100 liters of ammonia. Either you use the catalyst or don't use the catalyst. In both the cases. The difference is that if the reaction is taking 10 hours, so if you use the catalyst, it may take only 2 hours or 3 hours. Your speed up, reaction speed up will be there, but the percentage yield will not be affected. And regarding this iron can be substituted by ferric oxide and molybdenum can be substituted by potassium oxide and aluminium oxide. So substitutes are there. So I want to tell you that percentage yield of ammonia will not be affected by using the catalyst. One more point is left here regarding the temperature. Just you see, you are maintaining the temperature and only initial heating is required because the reaction is exothermic. So wherever the exothermic reactions are there, only starting heating is required, initial heating is required, and further the temperature is maintained from the reaction itself. So catalyst you have seen. Now next one is product. So what is the product here? Product is ammonia. And how can you separate ammonia? Two methods are there to separate the ammonia. One is liquefaction, and second one is by dissolving in water. So I want to tell you this critical temperature of ammonia is high, but the critical temperature of nitrogen atoms are low. So that's why ammonia can be liquefied easily. Means for each gas, a particular temperature is there above which you cannot liquefy the gas. However, high pressure you may apply. That is for the critical temperature. So for ammonia, the critical temperature is high, so it can be liquefied easily. But nitrogen hydrogen cannot be, and dissolving. Ammonia is highly soluble in water, but nitrogen hydrogen they are insoluble in water. So that's why by two techniques we can separate ammonia from unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen. So you must have seen in your book that you can take the page number 167. Diagram is given. Chemical equation. In board paper they are asking, give the chemical equation for the manufacture of ammonia with the condition. So this Haber's process, the chemical equation, as I have written the conditions, this way you may write, so there is no chance to cut down. Either as given in the book that you can follow. Then all the points, just to see page number 168, 169, that reactants, temperature, pressure, catalyst, everything is given here. Then last one you underline that product ammonia, hence liquefaction and dissolving in water are the two techniques used for separating ammonia. So they are asking which methods are used to separate ammonia from unreacted nitrogen and hydrogen. So liquefaction and dissolving in water. So rest of the things as I have explained, everything is given here. You can read it.